All right, guys, I'm going to show you a critical mistake or oversight that some landscape photography channels here on YouTube are overlooking, and it could cost you big if you ever print or go to print your own work for yourself or that of a customer. Okay, so as a landscape photographer and someone who's on YouTube as well, I do watch other people's content. I think there's so much amazing work out there that people are producing for everybody to absorb and consume. But as I watch their videos, and these people have really big channels, some are bigger than others, but they can get lots of views. And there's one critical oversight, I think it is, that they're doing, and that's freehand cropping their images. So whether they've done focus stacking and you've got some transparent areas in the shot, they just come in and they just basically remove the transparent areas from their image, then do the crop, and then they continue editing. But the question is that what ratio is that image now that you've just come in and freehand cropped it? Because everyone's shooting like a 35mm frame digital, which is a ratio of 3:2. So if you're just randomly cropping out certain elements of a photo that are unattractive, whether you're doing a composition crop or you're removing transparent areas, if you're doing that, your photo is now not 3:2 ratio. It might be 3:1.9, or depending on how you crop it, it could be 3:2.5, anything like that. And it's an extremely big problem, especially when it comes to printing your work. So I'm going to jump into Photoshop now. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, and then I'll explain to you why it's going to cost you big at some point further down the line. So as you can see here, I've got this image set up to basically mimic what it would be like a focus stack. So I've seen people come in and they go with these transparent edges you can see here as part of like focus stacking, and they come in, they grab their crop tool and they go, okay, now let's just remove this, and they double click and it's gone. So it looks great. So the image doesn't really look overly different, but it is different. So if we come in our image size, come into centimeters, and just say we're printing out a 30cm wide photo, this image is now not 30 by 20 as what it should be, it's 30 by 19.89. So not that big a difference, but still, it's still not a 3:2 ratio, depending on how bad or severity of the crop is. So with an image like this, someone could come in and go, all right, now, I think this is a better composition. Maybe I just want to just crop it like that. And then after they've done all the amazing editing, done a really nice show, right at the end they go, I think that's a nice composition. That it is, but what ratio is it? So if you come in and look at this now, this is more like a 1:1 ratio, but it's not going to be 1:1. So if I type in 30, it's not 30 now, it's 26.64. So then next time you do a shoot and you think, all right, I might like this is a better composition. So they double click. Okay, what composition is that? Type in 30. So now it's 25.16. So where this comes to being a really, really big, massive issue is when it comes to be printing your shots. So you might get a customer or you're printing for yourself and you type in 30. So a lot of the time if you type in 30, you've got this little lock here. And the lock is great. So if you type in 30, it just comes out like this and you click resize and click OK. Or if you come in and you type 30 and you think, oh, it's not 30 by 20 and you type in 20. Yes, it will come out as 30 by 20 now, which is great, but depending on how much your error is, it may actually stretch or warp your image to give it a weird kind of perspective. So the problem where this comes down to is actually when you print your work, you might just print it and just leave the lock on and it does the ratio change at the bottom for you. But when you go to print that work, it's now one photo's 30 by 20, because it might be like this image here, which hasn't been cropped, hasn't been anything, straight out of the camera, you've done no focus stacking, haven't had to recrop it. But then this image compared to this image are different. They've got different aspect ratios, even though they look the same. So let's say, for example, we print this image, 30 by 20, looks great. Reprint this image and say it's say it's not by 30 by 20, it's 30 by 19 centimeters. So when you go to print that and you take it to the framer and you say, I want these two photos with a 5mm overlap on the image and a 6 centimeter white border in a white frame. They'll go, yep, no problem. They'll write all the notes down. Then when you get the frames back and you put them on your wall or you put them next to each other, you'll say, why is this one frame that much deeper than the other one? And they're like, I don't know, like we did exactly what you asked. And the problem is that they've gone and measured the image, then made the mat for it, measured the other image, made the mat for it. And because this image is now 30 by 20 and this one's 30 by 19, the frame is going to be out. It's not going to be exact. Now, if you take that problem and now it's a customer's and they put them on their wall side by side, they're going to come back to you and say, why are my frames different? The photos are the same on the website. And you go, oh, they are the same, but they're not. And that's what's going to cost you big, especially if they've paid $120 for photos and then spent $400 on framing and their frames are not the same. They're going to then make that your problem. And you're going to have to either reprint one of them and compensate them for the framing that they've just had to pay for, because that's what they're going to actually basically ask in the end. So that's, guys, this is why it's really critical that when you do any kind of adjusting to your image, where with this one here, where we remove the transparent areas, you come in, see with your crop tool, change your ratio at the top here back to 3:2, then double click. So now if I come in and resize it again, and I type in 30, it comes up 20. If you're going to freehand form crop an image like this, come in with your crop tool. If you want a 1:1 perspective, then type in 1:1 or put 2:2. Doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. And then come around and crop your image correctly. Double click, and then you have your final framed image, which is actually correct. That is the way that it should be done. And this sort of thing will appear on your website. If you upload photos and they've got slightly different heights, as you look through them, you'll see that one photo sits slightly higher or lower than the other, and it just doesn't look good. So if you were someone that has actually done this, unfortunately, I would highly, highly recommend that you go through all your images and go back and just go back and recrop them to the ratio that you thought they are or that you wanted them to be. So if you had a lot of images that are 3:2 ratio, just come in and then recrop them all with your ratio up there. Make sure you don't actually have it as centimeters or anything like that. Come in and select ratio up the top, so you're not cropping it 30 by 20 centimeters. Just come in and just use ratio and just type in 3:2, 1:1, 3:1, whatever you are being shooting at or how you want that image to be. Just make sure that you crop it like that. So guys, that's basically it. If you like tutorials like this, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.